We're going to do that tour of publishing Survey123, and then we're going to go to ArcGIS Online, see what happens. Then we're going to go to ArcGIS Pro, see what happens. We're going to go back to Survey123, make some changes, and see what breaks. It's going to break on purpose, and we're going to know how to fix it. So that's what we're doing today. So last week, what we did is we did the family address book. Oh, we did the media folder, or the media thumbnail right here. So I'm going to open this up, and then we're going to go forward. And Britt, if you have any trouble, we can always talk afterwards. There, we're going to do smartphone for today. And then we went through all of this last week, all the sidebar, the bottom bar, and this sidebar over here. And then what we're going to do is click that Excel file, Excel form right there at the top. And this is what it looks like. Now, if you are looking at the handouts, we're going to go into the day 2, or if you're on the old version, just go scroll all the way down until you see published for the first time. And that's what we're going to work on today. I'm going to bring this back over here, and we're just going to follow that. So we went through what our survey looks like. We added some fun pieces over here in the zip. Remember that? That was a lot of fun. The HTML code. And then down here, we have some hyperlinks, and then we have the version. And the version is so that you can troubleshoot in a really good way. And then up here, this was cool code, because that was the first piece of code that I had to do. And I figure if it was the first one I did 8 years ago, it's probably going to be one of your first ones. And what this is good for is if you need to re-inspect something after they go out and do their inspection today, maybe for nesting birds, maybe you do 7 days, or if you're waiting for a crew to come out and do some veg management, maybe it's 15 days, 17 days, and then somebody needs to come out and do a re-inspection. That's what that's for. And the calculations are all in your survey. So you have everything getting going. And then what we want to do is I'm going to open this a little bigger. So now that that's ready, now we need to hit publish. And we always go left to right. So we can come over here to options. And I always turn enable sync on, because what that does is that tells the device that if you're offline, continue to hold all that data until we get back into self-service. So I always turn it on, because if I turn some of them on and some of them off, there's too much mental gymnastics there. So I just always turn it on. And then analyze. What this is going to do is, this is a Python script probably, because I noticed there's a couple pieces in here that don't work if you don't have ArcGIS Pro on your computer. So what this is this is doing the analysis on your survey. And it looks like we have one informational piece that we could check out. We can still publish it with that. But just for today, I'm going to show you what that looks like. Just come over here and click on that link. And that's going to give you a new spreadsheet. And it's going to tell you what the problem is. So the information is that the LinkedIn note question has a value in the name column. And I do that on purpose so that you can see how that works out. If you come back to your spreadsheet and come down to this here, the note, you'll notice that the one below it doesn't have anything in it. And that's because the newest versions of Survey123, if you don't put anything in the name field, then it won't create an attribute field in ArcGIS Online. In the old days, you could put text in here and scroll all the way over. I might have deleted this last week. I did. Okay, so in here somewhere, there is the ability to put null. We will look at that when we get to the repeats. And then I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now we can go back to publish. Let me make that bigger. We did our analyze. We can do it again. But I also want to tell you that you want to come back to options, because now that we updated everything, options has cleared itself out. And now we need to turn on enable one more time. We can still just go through the whole process. We cleared everything out. If you do everything the same every time, then you don't have to think about how did I do that and, you know, do I need to do that? Just do it all the same all the time, and then you don't have to do so many gymnastics in your mind. And then hit publish. And what this is doing is it's creating a lot of pieces in ArcGIS Online. It's going to create the map layer. It's going to create a view of the hosted service. It's going to create the hosted service itself, the form, the web form, all of that. This is where we start to get into the GIS universe. Now we can play just like everybody else does. All right, so I'm just going to make this small, make this one small, because now we're going out to ArcGIS Online. Does everybody have ArcGIS Online abilities? Can you get in there? Okay.
Yes.
And then, okay. And then do you both have ArcGIS Pro on your computer?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Then we can go through the whole process and you can follow along. Okay, so go ahead and go into ArcGIS Online. And go to your content. And if you have all your content and it's filtered to the most current, you're going to see it right here at the top. But you're also going to see it inside. It makes its own folder. So if you come in and you say, let me see what the date is, 02/02/26, it'll pull up those. Let's see, family address book. There it is. So it's going to have its own folder, which is really great, that it puts everything in its own folder so that we don't have to do that extra step. Just know that as you're building out your experience builders and your dashboards, web apps, whatever you're putting together, just make sure that it points to this folder so you can keep everything really clean. And then what we want to do is we want to share everything. So you can share these three, but if you wanted to share it publicly, just make sure you do your hosted view and not your hosted, because you want to keep all your hosted data safe. We don't make that public. So I'm going to say everyone. I'm going to say save. Okay, so I need to first go into, let's see, share publicly. First turn on the public data collection on the settings tab in the layer item. So what we're going to do is go ahead and do that first. Go into here. This is your hosted view. And we need to turn on public if you're going to do public. And you would go in here to settings. And see here it says public data collection right here. And we can turn that on. And now we can go back. Forms, map, hosted view, and share. All right, I'm going to say okay. Okay, so the text that came up said we're going to, the edited version, that would be your hosted layer. So it didn't change it. So or you can share it with your groups, all of that. So we did our public data collection. Now, remember I told you that Survey123 is kind of outside of the GIS universe. Well, there's one more place we need to go before we can really share this. You need to go to this 9 dots up here at the top. And then Survey123 is probably down here somewhere. Just grab it and bring it up to the top if that's what you're going to use most of the time. And then go ahead and click Survey123. And this is all your surveys. You can also come over here and you can see your favorite surveys or ones you own, things you can submit to, all of that. So for today, we're just going to grab all of them because ours is going to be the first one. Now what we want to do is I'm going to take you through each of these little icons at the bottom. So this one here, because we built it in Connect, we don't want to change anything in here. And it tells us, it says editing is not fully supported because we built this in the other platform. And then collaborate, click in there. And these are also up here at the top. Now what you're going to find is here, we're going to have a link. But what you actually want to do is you want to hit these buttons to figure out what do you want your end users to use. Do you want them to use just the browser? And that's great if you're doing public surveys. Do you want the software to ask, do you want to be in the browser or do you want to be in the field app? Or do you just want them in the field app? So if you are doing inspections for the city and you only want your city users who have logins to be using this, you're probably going to want to use the Survey123 field app directly. That keeps all the riffraff out. But, you know, since I'm doing this public, just a little more caveat to that is if you're really going public and, you know, maybe this is something so that you're doing an inspection for graffiti and you need the public to tell you where the graffiti is, you may not want to give them the option because that could be confusing. So you just got to know who your end user is. And do you want to just give them just what they need? Or do you want to give them the option? For me, if people don't know what the survey is about, I'm not going to give them the option. I'm just going to say, hey, go here to the browser. And then right here, once you figure that out, you can see how the link actually changes. What you can do is you can copy the URL here. You can do the QR code for this one here, or you can open the survey in a new window. And so that's what this would look like. But we have a few more things we need to do. Just double check that it says who can submit, everyone public, or whoever your members are. What can they do? Add new records or new and now this one is not a repeat, so we only want them to add new records. And then just so that we can go through all of the pieces, we have share results. Who do you want to be able to see the results? Do you want everyone to see it? Or do you just want members of your organization? And then what can they do? All the records or just their own? You know, we're just kind of dialing in what the end users can do. And this one is for everybody who can see it, see the results. Who can update who can update the survey? I don't have anything in here. Sometimes folks in different organizations have pieces in here. I don't have anything set up, so I don't have anything. I don't have access to anything here. Now, before we go on, I'm going to go back to the hosted service because we didn't go through all the settings there. I just noticed. So we have our hosted service. And inside settings, we can figure out, is this authoritative or are we deprecating it? Or do you not want to delete it? That's a good one because somebody who is building out your Survey123s on Connect, they may accidentally hit the, delete Survey123 for this specific survey. And they can delete all the pieces of Survey123, but you may not want them to delete the hosted service. And so this is a really good one if that's if you want to keep the data and not accidentally delete it. All right, if you keep going down, we have enable edits. We have keep track of changes, and I'm not sure why this one is turned to off, but let's go ahead and turn it on. Save, because we want to monitor that. And you'll notice enable sync, it's turned on. And that's because of Survey123 Connect. We told it to do that there. Now, editing capabilities. you can see it says delete and update. For us, the end user on the app, because this one is just one survey, it's not a repeat. They won't be going back into it. Your end users won't be going into it to update it, but we'll be going into it. You know, all the GIS folks, we can go into it and we can update it. So if you put this as yes, then we have access to that. Allow update to true curves. We're not doing anything to where we are walking a path. And when you walk a path and you want curves that are gentle, this is a good thing to turn on. But for us, we don't have that, so it's not mandatory. I would turn it off just because the software doesn't have to do all that extra data crunching. What features can an editor see? They can see all the features, or they can see just their own. And then what features can editors edit? Probably all the features. And then anonymous editors not signed in, what can they do? They can only add new features. I like that one because we don't want them touching things if they don't know what they're doing. And then when you scroll down, you see the export data here. I like to turn that on here right away. And the reason for that is someday in the future, you're going to make a dashboard or you're going to make Experience Builder and you're going to want CSV files to be downloaded. If you turn this on now, you don't have to come back and do it later when that happens. And it doesn't affect anything in a negative way if you don't have anything hooked up right now. Webhooks. We do webhooks. I do webhooks in Power Automate. We don't create them through this screen. We create them in Power Automate and then it pushes over automatically. So we don't ever have to worry about this. Then let's make sure we saved it. How does everybody feel so far? Okay. And it's all in the document. So when you actually get to it, you can go step by step and have everything. All right, so let's go back. We're gonna go back to that Survey123. Remember where we were doing collaborate and we're doing the links. Let's go ahead and take a survey so that we have some data to play with for the next steps. So I'm just gonna do open survey in a browser. I'm gonna click this new tab. And then go ahead on yours and just write some information in there. Put some funny address in there. And then that was just the zip code was kind of a weird thing that we were just adding some HTML code so you could see what that looked like. I've lived there a long time. And if there was a photo, I could take a picture, but I'm on camera over here, so I'm not going to take a picture over there. And today's date. And that funny code that we had, just remember that code, I made it so that you can type in something else. In the browser, the code doesn't quite work. So when you're using code, always double check your work. But on the desktop, on the apps, it does. And that's where you're actually going to need it when we're doing some inspections. And then we're going to submit. So now that that's in there, we are going to go to ArcGIS Pro and go look at our data. All right, so we're going to make a new project. And you can probably put, you can name it whatever you want. But for me, because I put a lot of these in here, I'm going to say family address book with the date. And that date was last week. So that is 203. 203. And then say OK. Now, does anybody not feel comfortable with ArcGIS Pro yet? Are we both good? Okay. Sometimes when I get into ArcGIS Pro with some folks, we don't have contents over here, and we don't have this catalog pane over here. And since you guys are both good with that, I'm going to just keep going and note and then figure that you both have these set up the way that you like them. All right, so now we need to go get that hosted service. So the place that we're going to go is come over here to Portal, and then it's going to kind of populate everything that you already have. And then I'm going to put the date. I'm going to put 2026 because I think I don't have so many of those. Okay, so you're going to see the family address book with that date. And what you can do is you can either double click it. No, you can, double click it, and then you can come in to the layer itself, and you can right mouse click and say add to current map. Or you could also come in and grab it and drop it on your map, and it's going to look different because now you have the folder and then you have the layer. I like just the layers, so I don't know, unless I have a lot of layers inside, like the repeats, I would bring that whole folder in. So now that we have that, let's go look at that in the attribute table. And I think it's control double click. Yeah, control double click will give you your attribute table. And what we want to do is we just want to look at the very last fields. And the reason for that is we're going to go add a field in Survey123. And I want to show you that it's not going to show up here because Survey123 is outside of the GIS universe. But we're going to work on, I'm going to show you how to fix all of that. So right now we have all of our asterisks. Those are what the computer builds for us. But the last one is our version. So now what we want to do is we want to go into Survey123 Connect, and we're going to add a field. So if you open up that one, and for me, I think I closed out my spreadsheet. So double click and bring everything back to the front. And what we can do is just add something in here. We can make it a text if you want, and we're just going to say added field. Copy that over here. And I'm going to save it. And so at the very bottom, that's what it says. And then if you want to rename something, let's just rename like version number of field app. We'll just say, how about just version number? Save. And something else that's tricky are your choices. And that's not in the handout, but I should put it in there. So let's put something else in our last names, and we'll call it, I don't know, Z something. And say save. I do like what I put in the handout. I said I renamed something to the delete that said deleted on the date per Jim. So if version number wasn't important, we might say, it was deleted on this day per Jim. And we might say hidden over here. Now you can see way down here, that's your version number. We're going to save it and see what happens. it hid it, and it's going to rename it. And the reason for the renaming is we want the hosted service to tell us that we deleted it. And so it just keeps your data clean. It's great for your history. So that it's kind of like chain of evidence, in a case. You just want to be able to follow everything through. Because if we remove this right here, right now, it's going to remove it from your end users, but it still leaves it in the attribute table. So if we can rename it first, then we can take care of everything, clean this up later. The hidden makes it really easy. And so now you can publish it again. It's going to give you this field, this information right here. It's just telling you that it's going to add this field. And it's going to say next. And then it's going to say this one has changed. Something about this one has changed. And that's because we are changing the date. It says version name of field app. This one says, it didn't tell us what it changed it to. It just says VER. So we're going to watch that one and see what happens. Hit next. Then it's going to say we're adding that choices field. Say yes, we want that. And then go ahead and publish it. So it just kind of walks you through all the pieces that it's going to fix. I'm just make that little. Make that one smaller. I'm going to take you into ArcGIS first, and we're just going to look at the data. Let's see, where am I? I'm in the hosted service, it looks like. So here's the data, and you scroll all the way over. We want to see if those fields came in. Oh, that's funny. It does say VER. So maybe I didn't save it correctly. And then here's the added field. So ArcGIS Online has both pieces that we were looking for. And now we're going to go into ArcGIS Pro. Let's refresh it. That's that little refresh button at the bottom. Scroll all the way out. And that's what I expected. Version number didn't change, and it didn't add the new field, and your domain didn't update. So there's no ZZZ in that domain. Let's see where mine is. Last name. There's no ZZZ in here. Now the reason for that is with Survey123 data, it doesn't pull in new fields or new domains. So the way that we have to fix that is we have to go in and re-add a new hosted service. Now this should get fixed with the new version, but for now, close that one. I'm going to change the name of this so that we know what it is. When you change the name here, it doesn't change anything. It's not going to affect anything. And then we do want to control and open that up. And we're going to scroll all the way up. Now we have our version, CVER. We have our added field over here. And let's go double check. Interesting. I don't have a new domain in here, but maybe that will just populate as soon as we do a new survey. So I'm going to go do a new survey. Do a refresh. There we go. There's the ZZZ. And I'm just going to put ZZZ so I know which one I'm looking at. The city in here. Added field, put some information in and hit submit. Now when we go back into ArcGIS Pro, we can refresh. Now we have our ZZZ. I wonder if this domain updated. Okay, that looks like a bug to me. That is a bug because unless I didn't publish it correctly, but I did turn on that field. So I'm going to go double check. Publish. Yeah, it would have had that screen that came up that said it had a problem. Okay, so family last name. I'm going to have to tell that to Esri. That is not how it's supposed to happen. Sorry, folks. I'm going to come in here to data. This one. Nope. This one. Okay, it's weird. It's in ArcGIS Online, but it didn't populate. So there's a disconnect there. I have an idea. How about I'm going to save this. I'm going to bounce out and I'm going to bounce back in. Maybe it will fix itself. A little bit of troubleshooting, live workshops. That's what happens. There it is. Okay, there you go. When you bounce out and bounce back in, it shuffles everything. Maybe it was holding on to old cookies. So there you go. That's how you're going to fix that. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, the next thing is how to break your survey. We don't want to do this, but I'm going to share with you how you will break your survey. So right now we have one main survey. And say that we wanted a related table. We can come in here and we can say, add the beginning, not group, beginning repeat is what we call those. And then down here we can say ending repeat. And so this is your related table. And say for family, you wanted to get all the family members. So maybe that was that's the main information, their phone number, the household, all the main pieces. And then you might want a member. I always like to build things out in the labels first. So family member. Maybe you want, we're going to open up that video 7 document and we're going to actually import it. But for now, I'm just going to kind of give you just a couple pieces. Maybe you just want a photo and what their favorite items are. And then you need to put something up here for the repeat. And the name and the label are going to be what shows up on your hosted service. So we could call this family member. And reminder, don't put a space in here or any funny symbols. And then we could just say family. Oops. Really? Way too many things on my keyboard today. Beginning. Repeat. There you go. And then just for now, we'll just put like text, photo, we can put image and text. And we could probably not use this one, delete and say save. Row 27 has no name. Let's see. That is correct. But I'm just going to grab. This is kind of what I do when I'm in a hurry. I might just say, I might make it exactly what the label looks like. I might do camel case just to keep it a little cleaner and then say save. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you see how it's a little darker gray right here? And then if this little caret, it opens or it closes. Now you can, maybe we say my husband's name, a photo, and whatever that looks like. And if I tried to publish this, you're going to get this really ugly information. And that says that anytime you see this one, you want to back away. You do not want to go forward, especially if you have live data. Because what happens is if you publish this, you're thinking, everybody can still get there. No, it changes the ID number of the hosted service. And now nobody can get to that. And trust me, I did it. Luckily, we didn't have too many. I mean, the crew that I was working with, this was 8 years ago. Survey123 was in, it was fairly new. So I didn't know how all this worked, but it does change the ID number of your feature service. So you do not want to do this. It's very ugly. All right, so we're going to get out of here. That's how you break your surveys. We do not want to do that.